If you think you're a bigger idiot than me, then you can just think again. I'm uploading a video about the 5 best Super Nintendo games that doesn't include Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger, immediately making half my viewers want to chop off my fingers, but good luck, you'll never find them where I hit them. Besides, I need them to play Super Nintendo. Trust me, I jammed my fingers on both hands one time and tried to Donkey Kong anyway. Doesn't work. I need my mouth for the nanners. That's how you Donkey Kong. And speaking of which, first game on my list of the 5 best Super Nintendo games, Donkey Kong. No shock to longtime followers, but choosing between the 3 Donkey Kong Country games, no small feat. I'd imagine the majority of people would pick Donkey Kong Country too, which I totally get, but I've always had a soft spot for the first game, which, shockingly, is the only game of the trilogy where you can play as Donkey Kong. But what I really like most about the game is the atmosphere the game creates, which, yes, the pirate theme of 2 I love as well, but playing on Donkey Kong Island, which has only grown more and more iconic over the years with how often it gets referenced, what a treat. But regardless of which DKC game you prefer, I feel what makes these platformers special is the rhythmic quality of the gameplay, emphasized by the sound design, including both the sound effects as well as the soundtrack, composed by the legendary David Wise. This ties into the very rhythmic quality of platformers in general, timing jumps, bouncing off enemies, or swimming through water, which, funny enough, the water stages all have what I find to be a very appropriate change of pace. Slower, atmospheric, you need to carefully wade through the hazards in these stages. Adds variety, speaking of which, don't even get me started on how awesome the minecart stages are. Too late, I'm already started. Some of you might think you've been in love before, but run it by me first, cause me and these minecart stages, trust me, I know true love. And before we finish, I gotta mention the animal buddies. Talk about fun. Games try to do all these impressive things to wow us, but do I speak for some of us when I say all we want is to just have animal buddies? Although, no shortage in the horse department these days, that's for sure. All that said, for anyone who doesn't think DKC belongs on this list, well, perhaps you don't deserve the Donkey Kong now, do ya? Moving on, a game everyone deserves to play, Super Metroid. Hot dog, what a game. I didn't play this game until I was old, so I've always felt very confident trumpeting what a banger of a game I think it is. No nostalgia to influence my opinion. If anything, I have nostalgia for Metroid Prime, which I did play as a kid, albeit sort of an older kid, but man, Super Metroid is the real deal. I played this game expecting to be blown away after hearing so many good things about it, feeling a bit of pressure to like it, which, by the way, is usually not a good idea, in which case, actually, all the games in this video suck. Go in expecting to hate them. Now you're set. What makes Super Metroid stand out is that it gets 2 very important aspects of the exploration-based side-scroller, or Metroidvania, if that's what you like to call it, right. First thing is that everything you find is useful. Have you ever spent large amounts of time doing things that end up not paying off how you'd hope, like high school or life? Well, in Super Metroid, everything you spend time on is useful, even if it's just increasing the amount of missiles you can carry. Trust me, that is useful. Time well spent. That trigonometry class you took in high school can eat the farts of any missile expansion you track down in Super Metroid. Finding items in Super Metroid comes down to how useful they are, being either useful, super useful, or somewhere in between. And in a game that encourages exploration, I find this to be highly effective. The second thing the game does well is the exploration aspect as far as where you need to go. Now, typically, I'm a huge believer in some of the inherent advantages of making a game more linear, to the point I'd say I generally prefer more linear games overall, just because it allows the game designers more control to craft an experience for us. But if you're going to bother having a map like the map in Super Metroid, the best best way to take advantage is to have some clever design for how the player progresses through it. I think. A lot of games in this genre, including later entries, feel more on rails. Even Metroid Dread, which I absolutely loved, constantly felt like it would basically just spit you out exactly where you needed to be going next. Some people might prefer a more guided approach, and I don't think that's wrong. I just think Super Metroid has a really well-designed combination of exploration and progression that hasn't really been topped and is still the best example of its kind. Next up, A Link to the Past, and what a beautiful Zelda entry this is. The pacing is so incredibly tight that you feel like you get a full proper Zelda adventure in half the time, and trust me, I'm a fan of doing things in half the time. It's the advantage of being pixel-based. Everything is just a lot faster and more immediate. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy the longer Zelda adventures too, but this game has always felt far more replayable to me, and gosh, I love those dungeons. Dungeons in Zelda games are designed to make you feel clever, and they sure do. That trigonometry class you took in high school can eat the farts of how smart you feel clearing Zelda dungeons. Plus, the way the game opens immediately hooks you in. Making your way through the rain at night, you're immediately playing, having fun, and it just never stops. For the next game, we've got Super Mario World. I'd be tempted to say Nintendo outdid this game with wonder if it weren't for the fact that game is just so easy. Still crazy fun, so it's kind of like who cares to some degree, but Super Mario World just hits the sweet spot. Perhaps about as much as Mario 3 hits the sweet spot, but that's just another perfect game. Anywho, similar to Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI, Super Mario World is another one of those out for blood games where if I didn't include it, half the people watching would want to hurt me. Although maybe closer to 100% than half, because while games like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI might have a somewhat more selective fan base due to the divisive nature of RPGs, Super Mario World is about as synonymous with enjoying the Super Nintendo as it gets. Some might say it's too obvious a choice, like eating pizza or waiting till right before guests come over to clean your home, but doesn't change it being a great game. What makes the game so replayable to me, besides the excellent platforming and level design, is overall world design, and specifically the hidden stages that you access via hidden exits to certain stages. Provides a lot of depth and is very satisfying to methodically unlock all the stages and make your way through the entirety of the game. For my last game, we've got Earthbound, perhaps my most controversial choice. After all, you limit a list of best Super Nintendo games to just 5, and we're talking about some of the most cherished video games ever being left out. But I feel like Earthbound belongs on my list. It's certainly got some hardcore fans, which, as usual, rubs some people the wrong way. I've even gotten comments on my channel before from people saying that Earthbound is not only a game that they personally don't like, but the people who do like it are either stupid or wrong for doing so. In which case, I'm a stupid, naughty dude. Opinions differ, but I've always loved Earthbound for all the weird stuff it has. I mean, I'm a weird guy. Is it really that shocking? Never have I played an RPG where I genuinely cared what every NPC had to say. It just feels like a lot of thought was put into all of it. The characters, the story, the way the battles play out, and the manner in which they are narrated. There's not really any game like it, except for the games that were clearly inspired by it. A good choice for inspiration, I'd say, and a good game for anyone looking for an RPG that's a little more unconventional. But there we have it, my list of the 5 best Super Nintendo games. If you're wondering the order I'd rank them, I started with my number 1 and ended with my number 5. The opposite of a countdown. Sneaky, right? I'd imagine many folks are already well en route to the comment section with their knives and pitchforks to say why a number of other games should be on the list. And hey, I'm here for it. Odds are, whatever games you mention are games that I really like, as I'm a big fan of the system. So with that, leave a comment and I will see ya in the next video.
He's the retro bird, yeah. is talking about video games. He's the red bird.